Welcome to episode 9 of AO1 Conversations. Jasmine and Stephanie continue their discussion on getting and keeping energy.
So today is actually part 2 of a series we're doing on energy levels. So last week we introduced this topic by hitting 5 benchmarks that really can help anybody to achieve a better energy level throughout their day. So just to recap, those 5 benchmarks were sleep, nutrition, hydration, exercise, and outdoor time. So we coined this our own 80-20. So our goals for each of those categories was for you to give yourself an opportunity to sleep 8 hours a night. For nutrition, we recommended that you try to get at least 8 fruits and vegetables pieces. So like a banana, apple, carrot, that would be 1 piece. And for hydration, the goal was 8 cups of water. Exercise 20 minutes a day, and time outside also 20 minutes before noon if possible to get that fresh air and some natural light. So Stephanie is going to start us off today. We're going to personalize and individualize a little bit more. So we're going to go just a bit deeper into this topic today because we're all different. We all have different exercise. We all have different job stress. We all have different family life. And so we can't cookie cutter anything. Last week was really great benchmarks that we should all try to achieve. But we're going to talk about how can we make this a little more personalized, a little more individualized for each of us so that we really can get that optimal energy level that we need every day.
Yeah, the more that I learn about health and fitness, the more that I realize how much everything is personalized, is individualized. So we're all on our own journeys, figuring out what works and what doesn't work. So our first topic is sleep, and our benchmark was to give yourself an opportunity for 8 hours of sleep each night. However, in your process, when you're trying to personalize it and figure out what works for you, the best question to ask is, do you wake up feeling refreshed? Or do you wake up feeling like you need to press the snooze button 15 times or like a truck hit you or something like that? Something's not working if you're waking up feeling groggy every single morning. So some factors to consider is the 8 hours is a great benchmark, but a professional athlete would need at least 10 hours of sleep as a minimum. They're putting their body through that much stress. So you might think, oh, I'm pretty close to 8 hours, but it really depends how much demand you've asked of your body that day, that week, for the past year, etc. Winter versus summer. Jazz, how have you felt? We're just shifting right now into autumn's getting colder and deeper into autumn. How's your body felt lately?
Yeah, absolutely. You just want to sleep more. You want to sleep in the mornings because it's dark and you don't want to get up, when it's still dark out. And I mean, just look at the bears. They sleep all winter. So we're not bears, but that's just a natural biological clock that they have. And I can't say the scientific studies behind this, but I just feel like my body sleeps more deeper in the winter months and then a little bit more in the lighter sleep in and the REM stages in the summer. That's just my personal noticing.
Yeah, that's you figuring out your rhythm and what works for you. I've definitely noticed just in the last few weeks where I'm getting close to 8 hours, I'm just under it. And I think I really need 9 hours of sleep to feel optimal right now. It's just getting to that more tiring time of year. And that's fine. So we just adapt and we figure out the pattern.
That could also be contributed by just the fall is when we kind of jump back into activities. And so our just busyness, our schedules are fuller. And so naturally there's going to be more demands and stress on our life. And that also usually requires more sleep too.
Totally. Yeah, I think there's so much stress that just flies under the radar and we don't even realize the stress we're carrying until we stop and take inventory. So that's a really good point. The last point to do with sleep is also just different personality types and getting to know yourself. So, a while ago, we just did a very brief intro on what the Enneagram is. It's one typing system. There are many out there, but within the Enneagram, it does teach that it's based on 9 numbers, 9 different personalities. Certain personalities wake up and they're at 100% cell phone battery. Use that example. And others wake up and they're at 50% cell phone battery, and that's their normal. So if you're someone who just has less energy throughout the day, you may require more sleep, and you need to listen to your body and adapt to that.
Yeah, we've noticed that in our family. My husband, he's given me permission to share this, that he's one of those numbers where he just naturally doesn't have as much energy. And he's always felt like he required more sleep. And just in this season of having young kids, I usually do the nighttime parenting and he usually does the early morning parenting. So it's been this like constant waking up really early, 4, 5, 6 a.m. that he just wasn't used to before. So he's really had to adjust and go to bed significantly earlier than he's ever had to in his life, because of just like a chronic fatigue that's set in because of this change. And he's already kind of at that half battery level of energy. So the extra sleep is so needed. And hopefully later in a different season, we won't have to go to bed so early, because we like to have our evenings available to do other things. But yeah, we in this season, just like, so sleep will change depending on your life circumstance, right?
Well, and such hats off to him too that he took that step to go to bed earlier, because it's hard. You want to have your free time at night and you're relaxed and that sort of thing, but that he knows he's a better dad the next morning if he goes to bed at an earlier time. To do with the same example, my son is a lower energy person, and I didn't really recognize that for a long time. So as a high energy mom, I would say, come on, we can just do it. What's the problem here? Let's get going. And then it wasn't until I finally hit some really tired periods where I went, oh, wow, that sucks to be tired. I really don't like it. And now I understand why he reserves and says, no, I can't spend all my energy. I need to hold on to it. And so anyway, it just gives a little bit of compassion to understand where other people are coming from as well.
Yeah, absolutely. On another note where people differ a little bit, what is your take on napping?
So I love naps when they fit. I was saying to Jazz earlier, like, I can't nap across the board. If I nap for like a deep 2 hours of sleep, sometimes I really need that, but I will wake up like I feel like I got run over by a train. But when I just hit that sweet spot of like a 20-minute light nap, just even if I don't fully fall asleep, I get that little bit of rest in the afternoon, then it charges me and I enjoy the second half of the day, whereas your answer was different.
Yeah, I've tried to nap because I'm tired. I'm definitely exhausted during the day, but if I nap, it doesn't matter if it's 10 minutes, 20 minutes, or an hour. I'm so groggy and just not very productive after. And I also have trouble falling asleep at night. So I'd rather bank my hours at night and have a good sleep than try to get a little bit during the day. So I'm not a napper. But and if you're listening to this conversation, we'd love to know, what's your take on that? Do you nap occasionally? Do you nap regularly? Are you a siesta person or not at all?
So basically what you can take from this is there's no blanket statement. You can't just read something and go, oh, well, everyone has to be asleep by 10 p.m. and that's the only way. Like, are you waking up rested? If not, then consider some of these factors: your stress load, your personality, whether you nap or not nap, and how early you can get yourself to sleep at night.
Yeah. And just a tip, I can't remember if we mentioned it on the last episode, but across the board, just ways to help you get to sleep and have a better sleep is try to have a consistent wake up time and try to develop a good, relaxing, consistent wind down routine before you go to bed. Those are things that will really help you get that sleep that you need, especially if you need more sleep, then you can adjust that with those good practices.
Absolutely. All right, that covers sleep pretty well. Our next category we want to talk about personalizing is stress load. So within stress, I mean, we often take it as such a negative thing. We want to reduce our stress, but there is positive stress, and we need stress in our life to be able to grow from it. So one of those ways that we stress our body is through exercise. We're big proponents of exercise. But that's the stress. So the second side to the equation is recovery. And so the fittest person is the person who can recover the best so that they can exercise more. So talking about different ways of recovery, one thing that just to break the myth, like a full day of Netflix and vegging and doing absolutely nothing is really not recovery. That's not an ideal day to replenish your body. So in recovery, you actually still need movement. You don't want to do another workout, but you want blood to flow. You want to get oxygen to all your muscles. You want to be doing mobility, some foam rolling, stretching, all those things are really good. But in particular, work the muscles that are super sore. So if you did leg day the day before and your quads are burning, the next day you need to do some very slow controlled squats and get some blood flow right to those muscles. So I don't know if a lot of people recognize that, but that's one aspect of recovery.
Yeah, I'm really glad you mentioned that because I think that is something that most people don't realize. If they think it's a rest day, they really want to veg and totally relax. So that's a really great point that you brought in, that you need to continue to do movement. So really, we should be doing our 20 minutes at least of exercise every day. In our program, we have 3 days a week programmed of good workouts, but those off days, that's when we need to implement these good practices you mentioned for recovery.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, in our healthy habits, we say get outside for 20 minutes every single day. So you can always be active outside in one form or another, which brings us into the 3 energy systems that our body has. So we have our aerobic, kind of more the endurance, the long effort that's slow. You can have a conversation. And then we get into anaerobic. That's where our program sits most often. It's kind of that higher intensity, and you'd be floating in and out of anaerobic. And then the very top is your ATP CP that you can only last for 30 seconds, maybe a minute. And that's your kind of full sprint, your full effort, your max lift. So we don't tend to hit that top energy system as often. It's important, but it's more rare. But the endurance, so the aerobic and anaerobic, you do want to go between both of them. If you're only in aerobic, you're missing a lot of gains that you can get in the anaerobic. But if you're always in anaerobic, you're not giving your body a chance to recover. So the aerobic is really good at building the recovery system and really giving you steady energy throughout your week, throughout your month. If you're feeling that burnout from exercise, you've probably been in the anaerobic system too much. So you need to go for a nice long hike, go for a slow bike ride. There's a lot of really enjoyable aerobic activities.
So for people that think in percentage wise, what percentage should they be aiming to hit certain times or certain days of the week?
So the aerobic would be anything less than 80%. So it's a really big range in there. So on a recovery day, you'd be going more like that 40 to 60%. If you're training the aerobic, it'd be more that 60 to 80%. Anaerobic is 80% and up. And then that ATP CP, you're at 95% to 100%. You're peaked.
You're redlining.
Redlining, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is great. It's a great training tool, but you do not want to redline all the time. So as far as how many days a week, doing 3 days where you're dipping into the anaerobic, you might not be staying there the whole time, but you're kind of going back and forth, hovering around that 80%. That's awesome. Probably want 2-3 days of aerobic, and then you might have that 1 day a week that you get right up there into your max effort.
Yeah, awesome. So as we've mentioned in other podcasts, exercise is one of the most amazing things that will actually give you energy. It renews your energy systems. It creates the mitochondria to be able to build up more energy stores in you. But as Stephanie explained, there's a smart way to do that. If you're redlining it all the time, you're going to be depleted, and then the exercise will actually work against your energy levels. So we got to do this smart. So yeah, those are excellent points.
Yeah. All right. Our third topic for personalizing is schedule. which is just so applicable to everyone. I mean, I might be talking to the moms here, but I think everyone can relate where we're always chasing that elusive schedule. There's some way to fit all these pieces in and find that perfect flow where everyone's going to be happy. And it feels like we can never arrive there. However, there are some basic tools and benchmarks that we can use to set up our systems for success. So when we're looking at the bigger picture of the schedule, try and do a bit of an inventory on what are the activities you're currently doing that give you energy, that give you joy, that fulfill you, and what are the energy or the activities that deplete you, that rob you of joy. And they might be tasks that are mandatory, and they might be tasks that are optional. And then actually determine what is actually mandatory, not just, oh, well, I have to save the world. Don't you know that?
And digging even a little deeper than this is really your motivation. Like Steph and I are sisters, but we're really different on what brings us joy because of our core motivations of what lights us up. So do you want to share yours, and I'll share mine after, just of what brings you that extra oomph?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds so simple, but I need everything to be fun. Like I want meaning. I want things to have greater purpose, but I really want to enjoy everything. And I didn't realize my language until I realized every time I would leave a place, my standard greeting of departure would be have fun. Have fun. It wouldn't be about like go and accomplish this thing or anything else. It was just that's what I desire for everyone because that's what I always desire. So whether it's a task that it kind of is drudgery, I have to find the fun in it, or else I don't know, it doesn't go very well.
And I'm totally opposite. I don't seek fun. I find fun as a byproduct. Like, yes, it will come, but my core motivation is to be productive, to like find purpose, to accomplish things, check things off on a checklist. Oh my goodness, that just feels so good for me. And I did some of that today. So I feel a little more uplifted this evening. And it's just so funny how our motivations are so different. Like if I'm doing something and it's not fun, but it accomplishes something, that's great. But if there's fun involved, that's just bonus extra. So for you really got to know, like finding what is the things that fills your bucket and what empties your bucket. Why are you doing it? What's your core motivation? And just ask that question.
Yeah. And we kind of came to this in the conversation because I was ready to just give the advice from my perspective is, well, if you have to do something you don't like, then put something you do like right after it. So it's always you have to, you get to, you have to, you get to. And that kind of gets me through the day and I enjoy that. And then you kind of went, oh, well, once I don't have to do this and this, then I get to do some work. And I just kind of went, what? I don't understand.
Yeah. Everyone's different, even sisters.
So yeah, like Jess said, finding your motivation. And there's many more motivations than that. For some people, it's to have a deeper understanding, a deeper learning, to gain a leadership quality out of something, to have that interpersonal connection. If you've got that heart-to-heart talk in the day, then you can handle anything. So find what gives you energy and schedule it in.